就搭配的完全意思给他不止给路给单jou还给听这个，Amen. I have so much going on, and I'll get to it later. This is kind of what we all say because we all have so busy lives, and throughout our day, throughout a week, and sometimes even during our day, we would tell people, "I'll get to it by the end of the day." Save it for later. That's what you see behind me. And so for the students who are here, you guys remember when you guys were in school? I'm still a student too right now, and it's always that night before the paper, the night before the exam, we scramble to get and prepare ourselves for the exam. We scramble and prepare ourselves and just to get our paper done. And so, because sometimes we're so confident in our abilities and what we can do, so we kind of save it till later. And we do this all the time, and we've done it many times, just waiting for the last minute to get through things. I know some of us, we're all not this, but sometimes we do this. We just feel like we have time. Save it for later. And so when it comes to church, and attending church, and going to church, and being in church, sometimes we say the same thing. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I'll go to church next week. I'll go to church next year, and I'll bring my family. And this is hiding from church, just trying to keep with our sermon theme here. So this morning we have a few texts. And actually, it's two parables we've been reading. So the first parable, the worship team read, and it was the parable of the 10 bridesmaids. And so we're going to read the second parable that we want to look at. And this is a parable about when a rich man asked Jesus a question. So let's just read it together. We're reading from the Gospel of Matthew, and it's Matthew 19:16-22. I'll read them on. You can read it in English behind me. Mỗi ngày ít tuổi này tôi cho Giêsu hát nụ hát tại sư phụ. Nhà tư nhà rong cư cú yếu chủ ở, cú cha tàu su san để thao một ít chỉ. Giêsu tế ta vì lý giang con nụ cú hát chủ nhà tư nhà rong. Chủ mua多tuổi cha nhà tư rong sư. Yếu các sáng tàu su san có yếu chủ cho lời lên văn chủ su cái chạy. Nụ chó nụ Giêsu hát ta yang gai tư. Giêsu tế hát ta chỉ sao tổ này chỉ sao già lô của bố của giờ chỉ sao ở tu sa chỉ sao ở tị khởi chỉ trên phụ con nào phụ cái gì hai lu cái tí cho ý dạng để con lu cái tu lu chế tu luôn đỡ tế hát ta tế con của tu cho trong cái hữu tu sĩ lợn chỉnh chúa dạng từ của chỉ tàu ổn ha Giêsu han cho nên hát ta giờ cái sáng ô ít tu cứ rong cần cầu cái cha lê mua cái tế khó chua chầu mua hữu tu sĩ ha mua cái chả nhà đỡ phải cho tôn hình bùa cái sai giờ tu cứ bùa nu nhỏ sọ du trên chế tất cả đỡ cái cha lê tôn chủ của mình thầu tu luôn đỡ nói Giêsu hai lên nói những nhỏ sát cờ hát tờ lợi cho khó nữ bùa nu hẹn and the nói Yeah, this is our text. A rich man asked Jesus a question. What else can I do to go to heaven? And Jesus told him, go and sell everything you have and give it to the poor. Then you will have all the treasure you need in heaven. So let's talk about these two parables, the first one and the second one. So the first parable is the 10 bridesmaids. And this is one we all know very well. It's a popular one. Let me just summarize it for a few of us in kind of my own words. So as we read, there are 10 bridesmaids. The custom during that time is that the bridesmaids would go and join the wedding party, the wedding banquet. And whenever the groom comes, the announcement of the groom, they would go. And typically the groom would come later in the evening. And so they needed to get ready and bring a lamp. And our text says that, it was getting dark because it's going to get dark. And during that time, a lamp would have a wick, and that wick will burn for a bit. But then if it's going to be longer than a bit, you probably need some oil to keep it burning. And so the parable goes that there's these 5 bridesmaids who knew exactly that. They knew exactly it might take longer, so they were prepared, and they brought their lamp plus some oil. And then there were the other 5 bridesmaids who kind of thought a little bit different. They kind of said, yeah, we're pretty good. We know he's going to come, but then the wick should be fine. And this is all we need. That's what they said. We don't need anything else. So we'll just go. Not much to worry about. The 10 went, and they waited and waited, right? And the groom didn't come as expected. And so as it got later at night, in our text says they were drowsy or falling asleep, and then there was the announcement. And so as they were waiting, the 5 who didn't bring the oil saw that their wick was starting to run out. And they asked the other 5, and the other 5 said, oh, no, we only brought enough for me. I only brought enough for me. And so the 5 who didn't bring the oil, they decided to go and buy some oil. And while they were gone, the groom finally came. And when the 5 came back who went to buy the oil, the door was closed. And our text goes, Lord, Lord, open the door for us. Go away. I don't know you. And that's the parable. I have time. Save it for later. This is sometimes how you and I, we all see things, and we all see things as kind of, I'm capable. I know what I'm doing, and I can do it later. I'll go to church next week. I'll go to church next year and bring my family. And sometimes we all know life is a journey. And some of us, we have been through that. And for our younger people, you guys are just starting out on your journey. So when we go through life with just the lamp and the wick, pretty soon it's going to be late at night, and our wick will burn out. Pretty soon, we will find ourselves further and further away from church. Pretty soon, we're going to find ourselves further and further away from the believers, all believers. And then we'll realize that it's late at night, and we'll go back to church. But it's not that easy to just go back to church or go to around the corner to buy the oil or go a short walk away. Sometimes you might have to walk a few blocks to find oil, and sometimes it might be across town before you find oil. And so by the time you get back, the doors might be closed. And our text says, Lord, Lord, open the door for us. Go away. I don't know you. So we are all like this. Save it for later. Maybe next Sunday. Maybe the next year. Hiding from church. So I went through that first parable pretty quick. That's kind of the kind of the important parts of it. Let me go through the second parable. This parable is about this rich man. And you can read that parable in both the Gospel of Mark and the Gospel of Matthew. We read it from Matthew. And so the parable goes, there's this rich man. And he lives a pretty good life. And he's a pretty good person because he helps the community and he has a good living. So he might have inherited some money. He lives a good life. Shows compassion for others, cares for his neighbor. And so he asked Jesus this question, what else can I do to go to heaven? And Jesus told him, do what the Bible tells you. And he goes, which one? Which part? And Jesus names them 6 commandments. You must not murder. You must not commit adultery. You must not steal. You must not falsely testify. Honor your father and mother. And love your neighbors as you love yourself. So these 6 that Jesus picked are all about relationships. Being a good person to those around us, especially to our family, to our neighbor, to our friends. Just being a good person all around. And when I take a look at all of us in this room, we can all say we are like this rich person. We are good people. We are nice to those around us. We serve our community. We serve wherever we're at. We help others. We live a good life. This is who we are. So we are kind of like just this rich man. And sometimes, I don't know about you, but sometimes you might even ask the same question, God, what else can I do to make sure I go to heaven? Am I just one step closer to being that person who is going to heaven? Doing all the right things. And so today, when I look at our culture and society, I would say many of us are like this rich man. Many of us are really good people. We follow the laws, we follow the rules, we're good neighbors, we're good community people, we work, we take care of our family, we love our kids, we're good students. And we even compare ourselves to some of those who do go to church, and we'd say we're no different. We might even be better than those who do go to church. And so we ask the question, what else can I do on my own? So, but when Jesus asked this man to go and sell everything and give it to the poor, this rich man, put his head down and just walked away. I can't do that. Because this is all I have. This is what I do. This is what I am. This is what is all mine. And I can do all these other things. Being a good person, being a good Christian, being a good community person. But when it comes to that, what you just said, I can't do that. I can't give up my this thing for God. I can't give up 1 hour for God. I can't give up what I like most for God. But is Jesus really asking him to sell everything? To give up this thing? To give up an hour? To give up the thing he loves for God? Think about that. So these are the two parables that we're going to talk about. Let me say this first. We all have busy lives, right? You and I, we each day we wake up, and then we say that these are the 10 things I have to do before the end of the day. These are the 10 things I have to do before the end of the week. And sometimes we reprioritize things, right? Things get pushed down and things bubble up to our list that we have to do in our day, in our week. But then we all figure out how to get through our list. We live busy lives. This is our culture. Here's a typical day for me. I don't know about you. You get up, you go to work, you have to drop off the kids if you have kids, you finish this assignment at work, and then you have to pay some bills, maybe the phone bill, right, today. If the cell phone doesn't work, you get a call from the kids. And then you think about lunch, and you have an appointment with your friend, so now you have to go meet your friend for lunch, and when you get back, you have to finish what you were working for at work before you go and pick up your kids. And then on your way home, you think about dinner. And then you forgot that it's Wednesday, you have a meeting with one of your friends, so you go out. And then you think about this weekend, that there's a relative party this weekend I have to plan and go to. That's our typical week. I don't know about yours, but that seems like mine. So much is going on, just running around and barely making it through our day, barely making it through our week, but we do get through it. And then you think about this rich man, how he serves the community. We are also giving people. We serve at a church. We go and make sure we serve our community. We follow the rules. We volunteer wherever we're at. We volunteer with our cousins, our relatives. We volunteer. And sometimes we run to donate stuff at the Goodwill, Salvation Army, or wherever you like to donate your stuff. We are really good people. And your friend calls you, and you go meet your friend because you just want to be with them. They're going through a tough time. You get my point? We are doing all the right things. And that's what the rich man said. Teacher, is there anything else I need to do in order to go to heaven? Because I have done all of that. And we live busy lives and we forget to go to church sometimes. And we tell ourselves, I think I'm okay. I think I'm okay. I do all the good things during the week, and I do all of those 6 commandments Jesus talked about. I think I'm okay. I'll go to church next week. I'll go to church next year and bring my family. Because I still believe churches will always be there. I have my lamp, and the wick is pretty good. And if I need to get oil, I can go to this church or that church. I can start to come back to church, but then we hide from church and save it for later. Because we know that there are plenty of churches around, and we are busy right now. And we are doing all the right things. Church can come later. But the point Jesus is making to this rich man is that it is not about doing all the right things. And the point Jesus is making to in the parable of the 10 bridesmaids is that it is not about time, saving time, having time, saving it for later. The point Jesus is making is not about doing one more thing. It's not about doing all the right things. It is not about you or me, ourselves. When Jesus told the rich man to go and sell everything and give it to the poor, Jesus is telling the rich man to make Jesus first in his life. Jesus is telling the rich man to be in a relationship with Jesus. So the question is, are you spiritually ready? That's our question for this morning. Are you spiritually ready for heaven? Do you have a relationship with Jesus? And can you give up everything for God when asked, who is more important in your life? So to the rich man, Jesus is saying, do you believe in me? Do you make me first in your life? Do you and I have a relationship? So how do we know we make Jesus first in our life? How do we know we are in a relationship with Jesus? So ask yourself the same question. Can you let go of everything when you are asked? For example, do you rely on your money more than Jesus? Do you rely on what you have more than Jesus? Do you rely on your education more than the Bible? Do you rely on this more than God? Do you rely on yourself more than God? What comes first? Where is Jesus in your life? It's about being spiritually ready. Because most times it is not always that easy to be in a relationship, and we all know that. It takes time. And getting oil, most of the time, is going to be on the other side of town. And by the time you get back, because we're busy in our lives, we make other priorities. One day we say we can, the next day we say, let's hold it, let's wait. Maybe next year, maybe next week. And so the question this morning is, how is your relationship with Jesus? Let me close with this for today as we ponder this. Doing all the right things. In both parables, the rich man, the 5 bridesmaids, without the oil, they did all the right things that they thought was right. And with God, it's not about doing. And this is our point today. You and I, we all, since we were born, it's all about doing and getting, doing and becoming, and we work harder, and we do more, and we look to do all the right things. But when it comes to God, it's a little bit different. And when we're talking about our salvation, and sometimes you and I, all of us, we get confused with going to heaven and living here on earth, living our calling. We get confused with doing heaven, and we get confused with doing earth all the time. And for heaven, it is about being in a relationship with Jesus. Because Jesus has already did everything for you and me. And so just be in a relationship with him. Make him first. And for here on earth, that's where the doing is. Doing things for our neighbors. Loving our neighbors. And Jesus showed us how to do that when he was here. So Jesus asked the rich man to be a believer. Be a believer in making Jesus first. And most important, be in a relationship with Jesus. Have no other gods. And when it comes to being here on earth, things of this world, then it is doing all the right things. Loving our neighbors, following the 6 commandments that Jesus gave. And when we are not doing enough, our wick burns out. When we are not doing enough, our relationship with Jesus burns out. And then we will try and go and find that oil somewhere on the other side of town, and it might be too late. So go this week and firmly believe that being in a relationship is what comes first. Amen. Let's stand for prayer.